What's up, everybody? So, here's another one of my old school reviews of a movie I watched over and over and over again as a kid. It was one of my go tos when I didn't know what else there is to watch on TV, and just pop open the cabinet with all the VHS tapes and enjoy. The Running Man, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Maria Conchita Alonso, Richard Dawson, the TV game show hosts from back in the day, Jesse Ventura, Jim Brown, a kind of odd appearance by Mick Fleetwood by Fleetwood Mac. And it's such a fun, but still kind of serious movie in the sense of the issues that are talked about within the movie. They come up later on, generations later, with the Hunger Games, and just recently I saw the trailer for The Long Walk, which also has like a similar component to it. Takes place in 2019 America, and there is this game show that exists where the contestants, whether they're former criminals or just people who want to try and compete in this, are tasked to run away from these killer gladiators, you can say. And if they make it all the way to the end, they win a pot of money. Now, the story is based off of a Richard Bachman book. And for those of you who don't know, Richard Bachman is the alias for Stephen King. And it's very different from the book. The book has like some very emotional qualities because it's a father trying to enter this competition so he can afford this procedure for his daughter. In this case, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a disgraced police officer who was put in prison for something he didn't do. He escapes from that prison. And when he is later on caught, he's forced to compete in this TV show, The Running Man. There's a lot of really cool things onto this. One, I really appreciate how it was one of the few movies that Schwarzenegger is kind of put at a disadvantage, because it's plausible to think that these gladiators could actually off him. And so, whereas in so many of his other movies, he's just this force of nature that takes a Herculean effort to, be rid of. Or it's just like, you're just kind of waiting for him to succeed in the end. But with The Running Man, you see the gladiators, especially like you see him, up against Jim Brown, and you're like, come on now. It's like, I can see this happening, because they're big enough, they look strong enough, or they have these skills or weapons that could actually do some serious harm to him. And so that aspect of it, I think, is really good. I think the real strength of this, believe it or not, is Richard Dawson. He kind of steals the show. I only ever remember him from being the host of Family Feud in the 70s. And some of those reruns would be on TV while I was growing up. I think, I didn't really look this up, but I think this is one and only movie credit. And now he's not really, it's not a huge stretch for him to play a TV game show host. But I think even in those moments, where he's not playing the persona of a TV game show host, he really kind of like commands a really great presence, and he's basically the main bad guy in the movie. And, when he gets his comeuppance, as all bad guys did, so this is not a spoiler, he has this great monologue where, yes, he is trying to just kind of save his own behind, but the points he is making, like, they still ring true. So you kind of see where he's coming from, where he talks about how, like, the audience, they love violence, they love sensationalism, all the things that they tune in for. And so what do? We give them what they want, and then, Arnold has his comeback to that. But I think Richard Dawson definitely is not mentioned enough when anyone talks about The Running Man. Another thing that I really appreciated was how they upped the stakes. So here's kind of a plot detail that I'll disclose, where Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, Ben Richards, is captured, like I mentioned, and he's forced to do the show. Now another thing, like I said, to up the ante, what they did was they also some of the guys that he escaped from prison with, who are not as physically capable as he is, are also captured and forced to compete. So because they don't have any of the physical tools that he has, not only does he have to take care of himself, but he has to take care of somebody else who is at serious risk of being killed. So he has to not only be, the self-reliant kind of superhero character, but he also has to be a caretaker. And Maria Conchita Alonso's character also plays a really, really interesting role because it's not like, oh, the damsel in distress. Even though there's a little bit of that, she still finds a way, very creative way, to get some pieces of evidence that will show the makers of the show in a different light, to kind of clear Schwarzenegger's name in the process. So I thought all those dynamics fit really well together. I'm looking forward to the Edgar Wright remake that is supposed to be coming out, I think, either later this year or next year, because it is going to stay true to the original story that Stephen King wrote. So it's not like they're remaking this 80s classic. They're actually just having a more faithful adaptation of the book, so I don't have to worry about how they're going to tackle the same scene or the same sequence or the same ideas. I do think the ideas will be there, but I think the emotional connection that will be present throughout the new story, I think kind of will do it justice to kind of have it be its own thing. Anyways, what about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.